Hey, welcome back to the Crabby Dice. Today we're looking at the expansion for Tzolkin called Tribes and Prophecies. So, this is going to be just the explanation of what's in the box in this expansion for everything base game and the playthrough of the base game. Click on the links below, it'll take you directly there. And like usual, before we get started, please like, subscribe, and comment on my videos. That would be great. So just a broad overview, there are 4 different modules in this expansion. You can mix them into your base game however you like. Play with all of them if you want. Alright, let's talk about each module one by one now. Alright, so the first module we're going to tackle is the tribes part of Tribes and Prophecies, and these are just your player powers from now on. So this game sort of introduces player powers with these tribes. So the way you set this up is you're going to hand 2 to every player at the start of the game. They're going to pick 1 at the same time as they're picking their wealth tiles. And that's the one you're going to play with. Toss the other one back in the box and there you go. I'm not going to go through every single one. They're fairly unique. They're sort of game breaky type thing, just like in Marco Polo. Just to give you some example, this one you start with 5 workers, but you got to pay 3 food for every worker. This one you can pay a corn to activate the next spot in the gear, and so on and so on. This one allows you to place one spot after an unoccupied area. They're all fairly good. There's only a couple that I would say not to play with because they're underpowered. But hell, if you have an experienced player, give him one of those and play with the rest. So that's the first module. Alright, the second module we're going to look at are the new buildings. I would suggest play with these all the time. They're really awesome, and some of my favorite buildings in the game now that I like to buy are the ones from this expansion. So you get 4 from level 1, 4 from level 2. And let's just go through some of the new concepts. So level 1s, they introduced 2 new things. First is during food days, you collect more resources. So for example, here during food days, you'll get a stone. So both type of food days. Here you'll get a gold, here you'll get wood and then crystal skulls, and here you'll get corn. They also introduce a new building type of mechanic. I don't know what it's called, but you can overlay another building on top of this and get a discount for that building with what's in the top left, right? So if you were going to build a monument, let's just say that required 4 gold and 3 stone, you'd only have to pay 2 gold and 4 stone because you lay it on top of this card, and this one sort of lays a foundation for that card. Alright, so that's the level 1s, really cool, play with them all the time. And the level 2s, they're just super powerful buildings that I love to play with. This one allows you to build a monument as soon as you build a building, which is always fantastic. This one gives you another spot to place a crystal skull. This one allows you to move up 3 techs, but by moving down 1. So you move down 1, you move up on the other 3 one time. Really good tile. And this one gives you straight up 8 corn for only 2 wood. It's pretty good. There you go, those are new buildings. Just toss them into the game, play with them every time. Alright, the next module is the Prophecies board here, which is the Prophecies part of the expansion. So they give you a gigantic stack of tiles here with this board, and at the start of the game you're going to shuffle these tiles and you're going to lay out 3 on the 3 ages that you see here. So just give you an example. So this is also before people choose their player powers and wealth tiles. You're going to show this, alright, because it might decide which type of thing they want to start with. Alright, and these things signify 2 things. So during certain ages it's going to have a calamity and a prophecy. So a calamity means during that age you need to pay something extra, usually to do certain actions, and at the end of the age, that's where the prophecy section is, you're going to score extra points. Alright, so the way you look at this is during age 1, 2, 3, 4. So the game is sort of divided into 4 ages. So between this and this is age 1, right? And then you'll eventually hit age 2, which is between this and this. So between age 2 here, so any of the actions between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you're gonna have this in effect, which basically means, this one's just an example, when you build a building you have to pay an extra resource, right? But at the end of the age, so after you do your feeding or food phase, you're gonna score this, which basically means for every building you're gonna look at this chart and score points. Okay? And you'll do the same for every other age. So then between here and here, that's going to be age 3. You're going to look at this tile here. And again, you're going to score after the food phase. And this one is during that age, every time you go up the green track, you have to pay a resource or green temple. And here it's for every step up the green temple, you score points. All right. Very important, these always have negative points on them, so keep that in mind. And the last one, same thing, during the last stage, which is between here and here, you'll have this in effect. Alright, it adds a little something to the game. I like playing with it, it's pretty cool. Just keep in mind that you do have some detriments here. You have to pay extra to do certain things during certain ages, so you need to look in the future, sort of like a prophecy, to make sure that you're going up like the green track before you get to this age, or you're gonna get boned. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. Incorporate it if you want. It adds a little something if you want to spice up the game. It's sort of like a random event. There you go. Alright, the fourth module is the quick action. So this is more of a thing that you need to add for 5th player, but you can sort of play with it even without the 5th player. So I'll teach you how that works. Is you're going to get 2 things for this module. You're going to get the overlay board here, and you're going to get the actual action tiles themselves. So this overlay board you're going to just lay on top of the previous first player action spot here, and that'll give you the option to place into the quick action area right over here. So then you are also going to lay out your level 1 actions for half the game, and then you have your level 2s ready for the second half. Alright, they're the same exact thing, you'll just place them down. Alright, so the way this module works is when the tooth hits a new tile, you're going to take that tile, so at the start of the game this one's obviously going to go, and you're going to place it here. Alright, when you hit the next one, you'll throw this one back in the box and replace it with a new one. Alright, and from now on players can actually go onto this action space here for 1 corn to gain the benefit on the tile. So here it would be get 3 corn. When this one comes into play, it would be pay a corn to get a stone, and so on and so on and so on. Here this one is activate the tech space, but you still have to pay for the tech, and so on and so on. When you get to halfway point, just fill up the level 2's action spots afterwards. Alright, for the setup of this module, it's very complicated. You need to add more dummy workers onto the board. So if you're playing 4 players, you need to add 6 dummies. Playing 3 players, you add 12, and you're playing 2 players, you have to add 18 dummy tokens on the board, which is insane. Okay, that's one of the reasons I never play with this expansion. Is I rarely ever play 5 players this game. I'll talk about that in the next section. But adding so many dummies, it's kind of weird. You just have the board is blocked off, right? Especially if you're playing 2 or 3. Also, I find that the quick actions are tad too efficient, so you end up with higher scores because you never have to wait that long for the worker to activate that spot, and you get to not have to pull off a worker, and you get the worker right away back. So most of these actions are for the 2nd or 3rd spots on every wheel. So for example, here you get a stone for 2 spots down. Well, for 1 corn I can get a stone right away, and that worker comes to me. So you can sort of also delay around, so you can just play him here as a placement action. All your guys stay on the wheel and they go rotate to the next spot, which would be even better action for the following turn when you pull off. Alright, so just a couple of things. Also, I find it a bit fiddly, especially if you have your corn in the middle here. The corn ends up knocking all these tiles out, and it's sort of annoying. Yeah, so take it or leave it. You can play with it. It just adds a couple more placement options. Personally, I don't like it. Don't play with it. Let's go to the next section. Alright, the last thing that the game gives you, sort of not part of the modules, is a 5th player. So you can pick orange instead of the other colors. Honestly, what I would suggest, never play with 5 players. It's kind of garbage. It makes the game too long. So the only setup differences for 5 players is you must play with this quick action board. And also, when filling up the initial tiles on the Palek gear, you're going to add a 5th space here with a corn. Here you're going to put a wood on top of a corn, wood on top of a corn, wood on a corn. So there's going to be 5 instead of 4 spaces filled up on the Palek gear. And that's all you really need to know about 5 players. I really don't recommend playing for 5, but if you want to play a super long game of Tzolkin, you can play 5. There you go. And there you go. Those are the 4.5 with the 5th player modules for this expansion. So overall, it's a great expansion because some of the things I really like, even though some of the stuff I don't really like. So if I were going to rank them, buildings, best thing, just add them in. Doesn't change the game that much. Easy inclusion. I love the tribes. The 2nd best part of the expansion. Give people player power. Makes them feel unique, something special they can do on the board. It also gives you higher scores because they're all more efficient than just having no power at all, so it's pretty good. Third thing that I love is the Prophecy board. It's really good. I play with it maybe half the time, only with experienced players, because you sort of have to like take into account the detriments, and you do end up scoring a lot more points if you are looking into the future and seeing what you can score. Also, it makes your beginning setup very important because you need to look at this. So that's why I'd only introduce it with experienced players. So play 4 or 5 times before you introduce this board. And lastly, quick action. I don't really tend to play with it. It's just a fiddly mess, and I just leave it alone. I'll touch up on 5th player as well. Don't ever play 5 players. The game's way too long. It also forces you to play with this quick action board, which I don't like. And there you go. Those are my rankings and sort of thoughts on all the modules. If you're to play with new players, I would suggest always buildings and tribes. And if you're playing with more experienced players, I would suggest building, tribes, and prophecy board. Alright, just leave all this quick stuff in the box and you're good to go. Alright, I'll see you in the next video.